Hey there.
Hey there.
I haven't let anyone in yet. It's giving you and I some time to. Oy. Welcome everyone to Expanding Tech, and this is the 3 to 5 p.m. session. And I know that everybody's probably had a bunch of coffees, and they may or may not have been training all day. So hopefully this is your th- well, this is if this is your first exposure to the Virtual Summer Institute, welcome and thank you for coming. We appreciate your time. If you've done a previous week and then you came in for tech, just because it fit your schedule, welcome back. We're going to get started in a couple minutes, and we'll drop a bunch of links and stuff like the Google Classroom in the chat below. I'm Alex Salem from Sierra.
And hey everyone, I'm Chris Daines. I've taught fourth grade for the past 6 years at Hort, and I'll be moving to fifth grade this year. So Al and I will be taking you through expanding tech training. So please remember to mute yourself as you come in. If your name is not your real name, it just helps us communicate with you better if it's at least your first name, if you can change your name on your Zoom. While you're waiting, I'll show you a couple cool features about Zoom that you may or may not know yet. If you take your mouse and go down to the bottom of your screen, do you see the Participants tab? If you click on that, you will get a little window that has the participants. And at the bottom of that, you will see yes, no, thumbs up, hand, raise, whatever you want. That is one way that you can poll your audience. It's especially useful if you have lots of people in your class at once, like we have 47 currently. So if I asked everyone to chat something, the chat would fly by too fast for me to be able to recognize. But if I said, how many of you are ready to learn tech? And say, click yes if you're ready, and then you would click it. And I, on the host side, get a little button that says, okay, right now, 10 people have clicked it. Now 12, now 15. And so I know when my audience is ready to go. So if I was giving my students something and I didn't want chat on because I didn't want them worrying about typing, this is a quick one button click to show that you are ready to go. So that is one of the features that we have in Zoom. And here's another feature of Zoom, a poll. You will all be getting pro licenses for Zoom. Those should be coming out through email over the coming days. Watch your email from either John Deaton or on behalf of Doc Irvin or directly from Zoom asking you to upgrade to a pro license. But we can actually poll inside Zoom. So I'm going to ask just one simple question. What grade level do you teach?
And just for the sake of letting you know that it's very easy for us to provide a poll without having to let anyone know, I'm just going to turn my camera so that you can see the screen because you can't see the screen when we're doing and see all of our Zoom stuff. Zoom is very hard to train while using Zoom. So forgive me, I'll go slow. See, that is the Zoom poll. You see everything, but no names. So all we see are percentages and numbers.
So we can see in this session today, we have a pretty even spread between first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, about 8 or 9 of you from each of those grade levels, a couple pre-K, a couple site support, and admin. So that's really cool. It helps me know if I need to spend more time on one type of training than the other. So, all right. I think we've given enough time for most people who are in the lobby to be on their way in. So I'm going to share my screen in just a second here. Here we go. And now Al is sharing his poll results. So I'm going to turn this off, close this. Okay. Oh, you may have noticed at the beginning of the meeting that it said recording is underway. This session is being recorded for access later for archive on our website in case you have any questions about what's going on. It's not going to record your face or your name. If you happen to vocally ask a question, your face will show up, but your name will not. But it's mostly focusing on the shared screen and the presenter camera. So you don't have to worry. You're not going to be the focus of this recording. So you're in expanding virtual tech training. Hopefully, this is the one you wanted to be in. Our norms today are unplugged and present, fail forward. A lot of this is new for a lot of us, so we're going to not be afraid to try new things. If you have any questions while we're going, this is a safe space. Please drop it in the chat first rather than unmuting yourself, since there's currently 50 participants in this room. If we all just started blurting out, it would make it very hard to understand who was talking. And Al will interrupt me and either interpret your question or ask you to ask your question if it's pertinent to what we're doing. So these are our norms. Please keep yourself muted. Yes, use the chat. At the end of the session, there's going to be 2 links sent out. One of them will be an eval form and one of them will be a sign out sheet. You can't get paid if you don't sign out correctly, and we cannot give you those until 4:50 p.m. So about that, if you have questions about assessment calendars, school schedules, teacher prep, contact time, IT, Wi-Fi issues, all of those big unanswerable questions that Al and I as teachers are not able to answer, we have a location for that. We want you to put it in the parking lot. So the parking lot is, we want to value your questions. If you were to put a question like that in the chat, we would simply just say, we're unable to answer it right now, but all the parking lot questions go to the bargaining team and the return to workforce as they make their plans. So it's important, if you have a question that you really want answered, that you take your time and put it in that parking lot right there. So our vision is to continue to innovate, and by learning and attending this class, you are learning some innovative ways to do remote distance teaching. Our mission is to help our students become collaborative, creative, and critical thinkers, and we think the tools we show you today will aid in that. Our core priorities is to continue that culture of teaching and learning, even when we're not all in the classroom together. And we always remember our academic priorities. I did not share my audio, so I'm very sorry if you have full screen. I'm going to mess with you just a second because I have to share my audio. And we have a quick message from Mr. Lukey.
Good morning and welcome again to Summer Virtual Institute. I want to welcome you and thank you for being with us today. As we work together this week to learn more about our instructional program for the 2021 school year, I want to focus a few moments of our time together on the importance of technology and integrating technology into our instructional program. Over the course of the next several days, you will spend time learning more about important instructional elements like Google Classroom. This year, all of our teachers will be asked and expected to utilize Google Classroom to support our instructional program. As we launch the school year, the state of California has provided very clear guidance and direction on the importance of monitoring and engaging students this year. We have found that utilizing Google Classroom is going to support us with being able to assign students work, where we as teachers can monitor the completion of assignments, give feedback to students to strengthen their instructional understanding, and overall have our materials organized in one location that can be shared with teachers. I'm also happy to announce that the district has invested in Zoom accounts, professional Zoom licenses for all of our teachers and staff in BCSD. This will allow us to have a protected environment where we are engaging students in a virtual nature all throughout the course of this school year. It is my hope that our students can return to school and very soon, that up to the end of the first quarter or shortly thereafter, our kids will return to in-person instruction. But I also recognize that elements like Zoom and Google Classroom are going to be with us for the foreseeable future. So I encourage all of you to embrace this new learning, to be willing to learn from each other, to be willing to share with each other, and ultimately, let's make this year the most successful year for ourselves and for our students. Thank you very much for joining us this week. I appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful week of learning.
All right, nice little message of inspiration there. So our learning intention today, we're going to walk you through and teach you how to navigate the BCSC EdTech website a little bit and show you the resources that are there, and help you use them in a distance learning environment. And we'll know we're successful when we can give students feedback remotely, monitor what they're doing, and at the end, you are going to create a Google site for use in your classroom for the 2020-2021 school year. If you happen to have been stuck in full screen when I shared my presentation with you, quick tutorial for you how to exit that. And we're kind of doing this, either you watch and do as we do, or if you're unable to do that, then you can just watch. But we like it when people are exploring while we give the presentation. So if you push the escape key on your keyboard right now, it'll pop out of full screen. And then you'll be able to drag Zoom over to only take up half of your screen, and then have a browser on the right hand side so you can sort of go to the websites that we're going to. That way you can explore on your own and you spend a little more time on something that you're looking at and mimic what we're doing so you can experience it as we go. So the first thing we're going to do is take you to the EdTech Center website. The address for this is go.bcsd.com/DFP. DFP does not stand for anything. It just so happens to be the link shortener URL that we got. So there we go. Sorry, I had a little bit of feedback right there. I'm sure it was just startling. Anyway, this is the EdTech Web Center website. It has been over 6 weeks, more than 40 teachers across grade levels, school sites, all kinds of places that have collaborated together to create comprehensive grade level lesson plans. So if I click here, grade level lessons, I go to 5th grade, which I'm going to be teaching next year. I see that there are SEL, math, ELA, dual immersion, and a 5th grade drive folder. If I click on math, I can see that 5th grade math has provided week 1 lesson plans with resources for every day there for me. So I know I can start my distance teaching knowing that, okay, someone's here to help me. Some plans have been made for my first couple of weeks so I can keep my head above water right there. They have them for every grade level for the first 4 weeks of school. If I come back to this main page, the next thing I want to show you is those of you in the primary grades. Maybe you have students who didn't use technology at all last year, and this is going to be new. So you're going to want to click on how-to tutorials for kids. The tech team got together. How do you teach a kid to type the @ sign? Well, you show them this video right here.
In order to type in your email with the @
So they have hands, fingers on a keyboard, talking very slowly so primary students will be able to understand how to type their @ sign. If you want to teach a student how to scroll up and down on a trackpad because they don't have a mouse, there's a video for that. If you want to show them how to screenshot, there's a tutorial for that. If they want to show how to log into a Chromebook because the parents aren't quite sure how to do that, you can grab a link to this YouTube video that was created.
If you're logging,
it shows you how to add a person, log into the Chromebook. You can copy this link, send it to a parent, and they'll be able to see that video and log that student into the Chromebook. So there's all kinds. There's Chromebook skills, Zoom skills, Google Classroom Docs, tons and tons, and we're adding more as teachers request them, because down at the bottom, there's this student video tutorial request. If there's something you want someone who's experienced with tech to model and explain to a student, because you are just tapped for time, there's a request form. You click on that and make a request for it. Click on right here, go back home. We have Virtual Summer Institute. Maybe you signed up for expanding, but you're also curious what intro wanted for the technology session. If you click on this, we are archiving all of our sessions on YouTube along with the presentation that was there. So you'll be able to see, so right here, this is my little Bitmoji and there's Al's Bitmoji. So if you want to see what a different session was like, you can watch that whole thing if you want to. It's on YouTube, all 2 hours of it. So not saying that everyone will want to do that, but if you want to revisit this at any time, it will be archived for later. And it's not just tech sessions, it's also math sessions, ELA sessions, SEL sessions, history and social science. All of them will be there, as many Summer Institute sessions as we have. And speaking of tutorials, Ed Tech Guides and Tutorials, my favorite section, because oftentimes people want you to be right next to them to explain something. So we've made this website so there's tutorials for just about everything we can imagine. So you heard about Jamboard maybe in one of your other sessions. Someone mentioned it once. Right here, if I click on Jamboard, it starts off with templates for TK to 2 and upper grades. It then has tutorials, 30-second videos with written directions next to them. So you could put this on half of your screen and then have it open on the other side so you can teach yourself at your own pace how to use all the tools in Jamboard. But let's say you're good with Jamboard. You want help with something else like Zoom. Ed Tech Guides, scroll down to the bottom, we have Zoom. Zoom is also so important, it's also over here. I'm gonna just click on Zoom and give a shout out to this link right here, this Zoom webinar for educators. This picture will take you there, as well as this link and this button. It's a 45-minute tutorial that you can jump around and skip that will show you all of the things that we sort of showed you at the beginning of the session from the point of view of Zoom in education. So a lot of times, if you look up how to do something on Zoom, it'll be for businesses because Zoom was geared at businesses. But this presentation talks about going through as a classroom. But I get it, 45 minutes is a big ask for most people. So we also have broken out 1-minute teacher tutorials right over here on the Team BCSD YouTube channel, as well as 1-minute videos with directions down here on the side to use Zoom items. We really want this to be a particular use for you. So in addition, there are a video tutorial request down here at the bottom. If there's something you're not sure how to do, you have a question, please search for it on the website first. But after you search for it, you can't find it, go ahead and click on this link down here and you can ask us to create a tutorial for you that has not yet been created. So that's our quick tour of the DFP website. We hope that you find use in it. It's gonna keep growing as we expand and get feedback and have time to add more videos. So this training today is working on 4 basic assumptions. Assumption number 1, you know how to use Google Drive. Assumption number 2, you know how to create a Google Classroom. So with both of those assumptions, we're not asking you to be experts ready to teach a class how to do that or teach someone else how to do that, but you can get by. You know how to create, you know how to share, you know how to organize if you have to, the basics of that. Assumption number 3 is the same idea. You're comfortable with the basics of the Google apps. You know how to create something new, use the similar tools that are available across all of the Google apps. And most importantly, we know number 4, our assumption is that you know how to search for answers on Google when you are lost. If you want to find something, you know that Google is a good resource for you. Everything we're going to demonstrate today, I'm not going to spend much time in this slideshow because I'm going to do hands-on, but this slideshow exists in case you want to access it in the future. But everything we do today is also on that DFP EdTech website. So if we go too fast, you want to hear it again explained by someone different, or a different environment, everything is also explained there. We're going to start off, now that we sort of mapped out what we're going to do, is start off in Google Classroom. There's 3 things we're going to do in Google Classroom. So what I'm going to do is first bring up my Google Classroom right here. Classroom.google.com. I guess I could have clicked on my bookmark up here on top, but you know. So I'm going to bring up my 4th quarter from the ended because it has content in there that'll be easier for me to show you an example. So the first thing that I want to teach you how to do is how to make joining your Zoom less difficult than joining one of the district training Zooms. As you may or may not know, sometimes the link go around, you get a little frustrated because the links change all the time and there's tons of them. When you're with your students, you can go to zoom.us. This is your account settings page. From here, I click on my account. Did I mention we're all getting pro licenses and watch your emails? I think I did. So we're getting pro licenses, watch your emails so that you can have access to that. Over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to click on meetings. Sorry. So you're in this session right here. It's green. We're on right now. I'm going to schedule a new meeting. This is going to be my 5th grade meeting. Description, I don't really need one. And this topic is really, this top part is geared towards normal Zoom uses. Normal Zoom usage would be, you would want a reason for having the meeting, what's going to be talked about in an agenda, all those kinds of things. But when you're in a classroom, there's not really, if it's going to be a long period of time, we don't know what our schedules are going to look like. So we just want to make what's called a recurring meeting. Duration doesn't matter. It can be 0 minutes, it can be 20 hours, because with a pro license, it can last as long as you want. And we're not going to give this invite to our students via calendar. So I'm just going to set it to start tomorrow at 8 a.m., not p.m., a.m. So I'm going to click this little box right here that says recurring meeting. And it's going to recur every day. I could have it occur every week or have no fixed time. If I do no fixed time, it's going to just be permanently that link. You can also do, if you want to change it every couple of days, you can have it, or every couple of weeks, you can have it daily and then repeat every day. And we can go out as far into the future as we can. It'll let you do 50 days. So you can reset your link every 50 days if you're worried about security and everything from there. But if you just want to keep the same link for as long as you're going to meet remotely, you can change this to no fixed time. Now what I'm going to do is scroll down here. I'm going to turn on video for the host, video for participant on. I'm going to have computer audio only unless I know that students are going to be traveling. This would allow them to call in by phone if they wanted to attend a sort of a telephone conference. So doesn't really matter, but I haven't had anyone call in to any of my Zoom meetings unless they were traveling. So there you go from there. And then I want to make sure I uncheck this right here, enable join before host. I don't want my students joining before I am there. If I want to make it so that only people in BCSD can join, I can make it so only authenticated users can join. But the problem is our students are not going to have Zoom accounts. So I'm not going to turn that on. They're just going to use the Zoom extension and then log in with their Chromebooks and using their Google sign-in. But they're not going to be given specific Zoom accounts. If I want to pre-make some breakout rooms, I can click on this right here. And I can create the rooms in advance. And that would just allow me to do some planning beforehand. But I wouldn't want to keep that the same all of the time because I might want some dynamic group. So I won't do that. And if I am in the process of recording, we have a lot of storage. I believe each pro account gets 1 gig of storage in the cloud for free, which is lots of recordings. So you can click record this manually or record this meeting automatically. That way you don't have to remember to turn it on or off. When a meeting is being recorded, it records the presentation screen and well as the presenter. And so you don't have to share any of the other screens if you don't want to. I'm sure we'll have guidance from the district as to what we should have as far as recording is involved. But you do have the ability to record your lesson for future use inside your Google Classroom for asynchronous. So just know, I wouldn't share it far and wide, but there is the ability to record, and I'm sure we'll get clarification on that. If you have a co-teacher right here under alternative host, you wanted them to be able to start the meeting without you. Maybe you're running late or you want them to join another student beforehand, but you don't want to have to open the session. You can make an alternative host and that person would be able to start the meeting for you. So I'm going to click save. Now I have my invite link. My invite link is right here. I can right click on that, copy link address, go to my Google Classroom, go to classwork, click create. I'm going to make this a material because I'm not going to collect it. I'm going to call this our Zoom meeting link. I click add link, paste it in here, Control V to paste, or I can right click on this and click paste, click add link. And then when I click post, it'll automatically live at the top of my classroom right here, Zoom meeting link. I didn't click publish because this is still an active classroom and I don't want my existing students to be able to click on that. But this is the link. They don't have to go anywhere else. It lives in the top of Google Classroom. You can tell them that that's where it's instructed, where you've put it. And that way you don't have to be emailing links to parents through Class Dojo or the Coming Parent Square application that we can use to communicate with parents. You just tell parents the meeting link is in Google Classroom and the students will join from there. So that's how you create a permanent link that's always the same, that you don't have to worry about creating a new Zoom meeting every day. It's just there. And when you're ready to start your meeting, it'll open up the waiting room and then you'll let them in and start from there. All right, so another useful feature of Google Classroom is the ability to differentiate assignments based on students' needs. One great example of this is guided reading. Guided reading has been a big push in the district for several years now. So I'm going to go through a quick walkthrough of how to create some differentiated guided reading assignments inside Google Classroom. So first thing, I need some content to share with the students. I'm going to learn my students' reading levels, and once I figure out what their reading levels are at and what I want to do with guided reading, I can go to bcsd.com, click on Educational Services, click on Curriculum and Instruction. You don't have to memorize this. We have a link for you that'll go through it in a second. I know this is going pretty fast. Click on ELA. Scroll down, click on Guided Reading Resources. Right here, we have leveled guided reading books. If you click on this, you'll be taken to this page right here. This page has a button for every Fountas and Pinnell letter for from A to Z, as well as running records for many of those books. So each one of these images links to a Google Drive folder. So let's say one of my students is reading at level P. If I click on P, it takes me to this Google Drive folder. In here, I can see all of these books. These are the teacher created materials books, the red boxes that take up 1/4 of all your storage space in your classroom, or maybe even half if you don't have much storage, like my classroom. Inside each of these folders is a PDF. So Sweet Inside a Bakery. Oh, that's one of the ones I love to read every year because it always makes my students hungry and they always go, oh, I want sweets. If I open that, I've got my lesson card. This may look familiar to some of you who have seen the lesson cards. It'll have comprehension questions, text-dependent questions, all those great things in there. So great, this is what I want to use. I'm going to double click this just to make sure I have access. So yep, Sweet Inside a Bakery. It's 30-something pages long. And it scrolls down, not side to side, so it doesn't function exactly like a book. But it works, and once kids get used to it, they'll have that. So I now want to assign this not to my whole class because a reading level P is not close to grade level, and I don't want my students to be embarrassed by having this book as their assignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to Google Classroom. I'm going to click on Create. I'm going to click on Material. So I don't want them to do anything with this book yet. I just want it in front of their hands. And so I'm going to call this Sweet Inside a Bakery. I'm going to click on Add. Click on Google Drive. Now, because I just opened up that PDF, it is going to show up in my recent right here. Do you see this recent? So I can just simply click on that, click on Insert, and now that PDF is there. If I were to click Post right now, this would go to everyone in my class, but I don't want it to go to everyone. I'm going to click on All Students right over here, deselect All Students, and put it with the 4 students I want in my group. So I'm going to put Manuel, Sophia, Luna, and Gabriel. They are part of my group. So I'm going to give this a topic. A topic is a way of organizing your assignments. And with this topic, I'm going to give their reading group name, I'm going to give their reading group a name. So this is the Purple Reading Group. Now, if you notice down here on the bottom of the PDF, there's a little warning triangle. That warning is telling me that I don't own the folder that this book resides in. So it's telling me I can't do much with that because it's not mine. I can't attach it. But Google Classroom has been updated in the past few months to make sharing these documents easier, because now if I click Post and assign this to the Purple Reading Group of these 4 students, it's going to say, hey, teacher, you don't have access to that file. Would you want me to make a copy for it? Do you want me to make a copy of the file for you and attach it? And I say, thanks, Google Classroom. You're helping me out a lot. So I'm going to click copy. So now I don't need to download that PDF, save it to my drive, and put it there. I can simply just access it and make a copy of it there. And so now, because I just made that topic, my topic is now right here, Purple Reading Group. This Purple Reading Group assignment is only viewable by those 4 students. No one else can see it. If I forget who the students are, I can click on that. So now when I have my Zoom guided reading time, I can tell these 4 guys to join me, go to your Google Classroom, click on that link, and read it with me. And then I could even maybe put them in their own breakout room to read on their own and bring them back when we want to talk about it, that kind of thing. So that is how we do it using a PDF. Now, okay, maybe you're tired of teacher-created materials because you've been teaching the same grade level for several years now, and you've been using those red boxes of books, and they're all falling apart anyways, and you just want some new content for your ears so you don't go crazy. Our curriculum for K through 5th grade is Benchmark Advance, and so we can do a similar thing with Benchmark Advance. So what I'm going to do is go close this tab, open a new tab, and go to clever.com. From here, I can log in as a teacher, and it's going to recognize me from my Google single sign-on. If I haven't signed on today, it would ask me to sign in with my Google, and I would get a prompt there. Your Clever may look a little different than mine. Mine has had some customizations because I've been using Clever for a while now. And you can organize this. If you want this in a different place, you can click and drag it around. And if you want to learn more about Clever, right down here at the bottom, this Clever Academy. It's a go at your own pace, but you don't need to know anything about Clever other than it's used to log in, and it doesn't use any special passwords. It uses Google single sign-in in order to access Clever single sign-in. So it's sort of 2 layers of sign-in in order to get to what you want. But this is a great place to now go to Achieve, Benchmark Education, and down here, Renaissance Learning. Remember when you had to remember your teacher number and your birthday and the first house you lived in on that street, down the street from the other one? You don't need to memorize any of that anymore. You can just click on Renaissance Learning right there, and it will take you in with single sign-in. So hooray for having to remember less passwords. So I'm going to click on Benchmark right here. I'm going to go faster than I normally would because I'm going to show you the link to where this tutorial is located so you can go at your own pace. But you log into Benchmark Universe, click on Benchmark Advance. Over here on the left-hand side are the filtering options. This center section is where all of your content is. So it immediately shows me all grade levels. That's okay because what I'm looking for right now are guided reading, independent reading, those kinds of books. So I'm going to skip over this and scroll down to level. Oh, look at this, Fountas and Pinnell letters. So my group was at level P for their reading group. If I click on the letter P, it now filters all of this content in the middle and only shows me whole group text and leveled readers that are rated at a Fountas and Pinnell level P. So let's say I want to use Fables, King Midas and the Golden Touch. Fantastic. I want to use this. But you know, I don't have time to sit and explain to all of my students how to log into Benchmark, how to access a bookshelf, how to go to an assignment. It's a long process for some of our younger kids. Luckily, Benchmark now has the ability to link straight to this book. If I click on this gear right here, I can see create link for direct access. If I click on that, I get this information panel. It basically tells, it's Benchmark telling you, hey, if you assign it this way, you won't be able to use all of our special tools and assignment things. Are you okay with that? And you say, yes, I'm fine with that. And click on this copy link button right here. And then it tells you that it's copied. So this link, I can now go back to my Google Classroom, create a new material. And I'm going to call this Midas book. Click add, link, paste. And this wasn't all of my students, right? This is my purple group. So I'm going to change it from all students to these 4 students. I'm going to change the topic to my purple reading group. And then I can push post. Now, as simple as that, that book is now available to them right here in the purple reading group, the Midas book. When the students get here, even though this says Clever Login, it's just pointing them to the pointer for that book. So when a student gets here, they say, oh, okay, what book is this? They click on the link, it takes them through Clever, but they're on their Chromebook, so they won't have to do any logging in, and it will take them straight to this King Midas book. Then they can turn the pages. They can use the narration tools at the top. And there are teacher resources for you because this is a teacher account. If you click on that, you can have a teacher's guide and a text evidence question card to help you plan for your guided reading groups in that as well. So that is another way of differentiating instruction from a distance by using targeted assignments for students. Al, were there any questions? Did I go too fast on something there?
No, I think you've been doing a pretty good job. I think everything's been caught up, and people in the chat are actually helping each other out and commenting to each other, and it's been really good in here.
All right, great. So that's pretty much what we wanted to show you in Google Classroom. because now we want to shift to a feedback and monitoring point of view. So one of the things that you may or may not struggle with is something that I think about, and I think, okay, I can wrap my head around talking at a computer all day long, especially since I've been doing this training, right? Okay, I know my voice is going somewhere. How do I know if my kids are doing what I'm asking them to do? Well, they're going to do their Google Classroom assignments or not. Okay, so then now I've got two things. I can say, okay, if they're doing my assignments, I know they're doing them. If they're not doing their assignments, I need to know why. Why aren't they doing what I'm doing? And one of the tools that we have as a district that will help you figure out what they're doing instead, because maybe you contacted a parent and you said, hey, little Johnny's not doing his work, and the parent says, I don't know, he's on a computer 6 hours a day, he must be doing something. The district has something called Go Guardian. So Go Guardian is a tool that allows, I just have it bookmarked up here, but you could also Google Go Guardian. It's a tool that allows remote monitoring and reports for student activity on Chromebooks. I'm not going to go through the process of setting up a classroom, going through all of that. We've gone into great detail on the DFP website. If I go here to EdTech Tutorials and I scroll down to Go Guardian, click here, step-by-step 3-minute videos, how to do each part that I'm going to sort of run through right now. So I do suggest you go through that when you have a moment. But this is Go Guardian. I have my class from last or fourth quarter active, so that way I could show you some of the reports that we have here. So I'm going to first show you, okay, my day ended. I want to see what my class was doing today while I was having them follow their schedule. Let's see what they were doing. So I'm going to click on my classroom, and I'm going to go to my sessions. I'm going to load more of these sessions, load more. So we're going to go back in time to, you can go back, I believe 6 months is what how far they let you go back. So I'm going to go back to Thursday, May 21st. I'm going to click there. I'm going to zoom out right here. And I'm not so sure we did anything that day. So let me go back and choose a different day. Sorry. Zoom menu got in the way there. I don't know why I confused May with March for a second, but all the days kind of run together these days, right? So I'm going to go with this session right here, Monday, March 30th. It doesn't look like anyone signed in. This worked really well last time because I went right to the day that I had it at. I'm very sorry for the delay here. Let's try this one, April 8th. There we go. Perfect. Third time's a charm. Up here on top, we have our timeline. Right now, in between each of these lines is 1 minute of time. I don't really need to see what they're doing every minute of every day. I don't expect anyone to be on task every minute of every day, especially when they're at home. But I'm going to zoom out here and condense the timeline to be about 5 to 7 minutes between each of these. So I can see at 4 o'clock on this day, I had 1, 2, 3, 4 students logged in. Alex, I can click on this to see what this was. He was playing Prodigy. He had 2 other tabs open. He had NitroType open and he had Google Classroom open. And I can see that he can't really decide what he wants to do. He keeps switching tabs every minute or so. So he's going back and forth. Now I can see Andrea happened to be playing Clicker Heroes on Cool Math Games. And she had a Cool Math game open and Google Classroom open. Okay. And then if I scroll down here, I can see Emma was on GoGuardian Teacher Chat for a couple minutes, and she was watching some videos on Google Drive and watching Roblox Murder Island on YouTube. So those are some of the things that she was doing. So she happened to be messaging me about contacting her mom because they needed help with some tech issues. So that's one of the features of GoGuardian is you can turn on a chat system to allow students to privately chat a teacher, and all of those chat messages are stored in GoGuardian for you to have access later. They used to not be archived, but now they are, so you can go back to them later, and you can sort of leave it open as a messaging service for students to contact you. If they're not comfortable saying it out loud, they can type it in a what my students usually saw as texting, because many of them don't have cell phones. They would text the teacher to see what was going on. So if I were doing whole class synchronous instruction, I would have probably, hopefully, right, most of these students would have a line on, and I would see what they were doing, how many tabs they were switching to as time went on in here. So that would be for a moment in time at a glance, right? So I can see at 1:52 p.m. I had this many students on, this girl was on slides, this person was on a doc, this person was on GoGuardian, this person was playing, or not GoGuardian, cool math games, those kinds of things. But if I wanted a general report, so I noticed that happens one time, maybe I'll talk to the student about it, maybe not. I'll let it go a little bit. That's up to your teaching style and your management. So now I'm going to go to the student report section over here. This student report section allows me to see trends. So I'm going to select my classroom, select student Natalie. You cannot go as far back in time, and the biggest window you can do is a month. But what I can do is, let's say, okay, I want to see what Natalie was up to in May on her Chromebook. So I'm going to select May 1st to May 30th. Generate her report. So now I know that over those 30 days, Natalie spent 18 hours in Google Classroom, 11 hours on Get Epic Reading Books, 4 hours on Google Drive, 2 hours and 10 minutes on Zoom, 2 hours on Freckle, and I can see that her most work on Google Documents were the colors that I like, and If You Could Meet, she spent 20 minutes writing that. And I also get sort of a donut of her top 5 Google searches and how much time she spent searching for those items. So if they search for the same thing every day, like cool Vans shoes, and they search for it all the time and just keep scrolling through more and more cool Vans shoes, then you'll see how much time they actually spent searching for that one item. So I know that over a month period, she spent 1 hour and 3 minutes searching for a popular Google Doodle game, so she probably played that quite a few times. If I scroll down a little bit more, it'll give me an intervention report, which will tell me how many times I either locked her screen, opened a tab, closed a tab, or blocked a site that she was browsing. And if I really want to get detailed, there's an entire detailed browsing history for that entire 30 days. So as you can see here, sometimes multiple times in a minute or every few minutes, I have a record of every website that they go to, every URL that they type, every search that they make. I have that there for my own, just to be able to point out trends to parents. So I probably wouldn't go through a whole month at a time. I just use that to show you some of those reporting. You'll have a lot more data when kids spend a lot of time on Chromebooks. So we don't expect you to be police. This is more of a troubleshooting, right? Kids not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Parent says they're on the computer. You can come here and see what they are actually doing, and you can have a conversation that goes from there. But let's say your student is doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're turning in all of their assignments. How do you monitor how much time that student is spending on them without having to go, because they're going to turn in their assignments. You're not going to worry about them. You're not going to run a report on all of your students all of the time, because that would just take forever and you wouldn't be teaching, you'd be playing police officer. But what you can do is occasionally come into something called version history in Google Classroom. And what that allows you to do is see how much time a student is spending doing something. So what I'm going to do is show you an example from my 4th quarter. I'm going to go down to a writing assignment that I had my students do. I must have scrolled past it. Here it is. Sorry. Writing question of the week. I'm going to click View Assignment. This screen probably looks familiar to you. So I'm going to say, okay, Luna, it looks like she spent time doing a good response right here. Manuel turned in an empty sheet of paper. So clearly I have to have a talk with him. I'm going to come over here, click on Luna's. This is the grading tab. If you're not familiar with this, there's some excellent Google Classroom trainings on the DFP website. But this allows me to see how much time she spent on this. So I can see, okay, here is her essay or her short response that she did. She wrote about 2 paragraphs. That's what was asked in the assignment. But how much time did it take her? If I click over here on this square with an arrow out, now I'm in Google Docs. I can access version history by underneath the title up here. There is last edit was made on May 5th by Luna Cervantes. I can click on this. As I click on this, I'm now in this version history section. I can see what time the first document was created. So she created this at 11:41 a.m. and she finished at 12:30 p.m. But all I'm seeing right now is a blank one if I click on this and a complete one if I click on this. So what I need to do is expand the detailed version of this. As I click expand right there, I can go back in time as I scroll down right here, and I can see that from 11:42 a.m. she's typing. She is clearly not the fastest typer in the world. So it's taken her almost 30 minutes to type that. Taken her 7 or 8 more minutes to type that. She can see she's making some revisions as she goes. She's deleting some things, but then I can see her final draft is at 12:28. So this assignment, which I thought as a teacher would take 15 minutes max for her to write these 2 paragraphs, actually took my student 45 minutes. So this is a time when I can see and sort of change my mindset. Like, okay, maybe all of my assignments are more rigorous than I realized. Maybe I need to make some assignments much less rigorous. Maybe I need to talk with Luna if I want to, if it became a pattern, and see, is she constantly being distracted while she's doing it, or she's just being very thoughtful? So those are questions that I'll be asking myself, that I'll be talking with her about through Zooms and seeing what's going on with that. Likewise, there's an opposite way. So let's say I want to see a different student. I can bring up my student Brian down here. Brian finished his. He has what looks like 3 sentences. So I'm going to open this in Google Docs, clicking that same square button. And I'm going to access version history underneath the title. Here's version history. I'm going to click on that. And I can see he created it at 1:05 and he ended at 1:17. If I expand this, I can see how long it took him to finish. So he basically finished at 1:12, and then 5 minutes later he typed these last couple words right here, because it did not take him 5 minutes for that. But I know that he didn't spend as much time as Luna because he has missing capital letters. I'm going to leave version history by going back over here. I don't want to change anything. He has some capital letters missing, and I know he knows that capital I should work, because right here he starts this one with a capital I, but he leaves his I not capitalized other places. So I could be able to give him some individualized feedback, which is what I'm going to show you now. So now that I've spent time seeing how much time these students have spent on it, I want to give them some feedback. But typing out feedback, how many students are going to take the time to read? They have to read so much in a day. Reading what you've typed on feedback won't be their favorite thing to do in the world. But you can use the Screencastify extension to make a quick video. Let me show you how. So right now I'm on Luna's, and I want to give Luna some private feedback. So I'm going to disable my Zoom video just so I can show you Screencastify. It's an extension in your browser that allows you to record your screen and your webcam at the same time. I do want to turn on my webcam for this because I want to make sure that my student sees me saying this to them, that they see my face and it's not just a voice over a background. So I'm going to click record right here. I'm going to share my screen with Screencastify. It's going to give me a countdown. Hey, Luna, you spent a lot of time responding on this. It's so good. I like that you want to meet Mariah Elizabeth. I'm fascinated. I didn't even know who Mariah Elizabeth was before. And I'm going to go Google about her and search her up. Maybe if you're interested, you could do a longer piece learning about her, or maybe make a report on her if it seems interesting to you. Great job, Luna. As you can see in the top right-hand corner, it says saving to Drive. So my video is now automatically uploaded to Google Drive. I can click on copy shareable link. It says copied. I can immediately go back to Google Classroom, go to Luna's essay, click right over here in private comments and say, great job, here's my feedback. Push Control V, paste, and post. I did not have to download anything. I didn't have to upload anything. It was as quick as making that video. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the shorter the video, the better, because no one likes to watch long videos. So if I come back to Google Classroom, just to show you an example of what the student would see, once the student logs into Google Classroom, I would have to teach them this part because not all students know how to look for this feedback, and they're not going to get a notification, an email, nothing's going to pop up on their screen. They're not going to get bells and whistles. They have to look. So what I might do is, if this assignment was due yesterday, in our next Zoom meeting, I'll say, hey, I gave everyone feedback in your assignment. Here's how we go and do that. And you teach them how to look for that feedback. And once you teach them how to look for it, they'll start looking for it all the time. So I'm going to click on this right here. This is what it would be for the student view. They would see this private comment. So that comment is private to her only. No one else sees it. It also, she has the ability to respond to it if she wants to. But if she clicks on this, it just opens up a video in her browser. Hey, Luna. And she is able to see my feedback right there. So that's a quick, agile way to provide feedback. Screencastify is free, but limits you to 50 recordings a month and 5 minutes. The pro license for educators is $25 or $29 now. I have been making so many tutorials that it was an investment that I was willing to make, but that's something that you have to choose. If you want a different service, if you want to do longer than 5 minutes, there's an alternate app extension called Loom. Loom is very useful. If you've seen a video of people using these circled rather than square, and then you can record and move this circle around to point things out if you want to, so you can say, hey, look at this right here, you missed this part while you're recording your video. That's a very useful feature, but one of the issues with that is it's a longer process because you have to Loom automatically records to loom.com, so you would need to go to Loom, download the video, upload to Google Drive, make it shareable, and then copy that link and share it into there. It's very useful, but if you're going to do that 30 times, it's going to take a lot more time than just Screencastify, record, paste, record, paste. So that's the 3 second or the 2 minute difference between Loom and Screencastify. And it's 4 o'clock now. I'm not going to have a ton of time to go over this, but that's okay. We don't have a lot of middle school teachers in here, but there's one more feature of Google Classroom that was added a few months ago called rubrics. Now, before I go on to rubrics, Al, were there any questions in the chat there?
I think there were 2 of them, but it looks like they were parking lots. So,
Okay.
if you did know, do you have the same ability to do what you were doing with throwing stuff in from Benchmark as you can do the same thing with StudySync?
I know that Jennifer is working on tutorials for StudySync. I personally haven't used StudySync. I know that it's a fairly new tool for a lot of people in our district. So if you will be creating content for that, I know we will. So.
And let's see here. Is Benchmark Advanced available to all grade levels, especially 6 through 8?
You can try accessing it. I know that Benchmark Advance is available for K through 6 because there's a 6 button on it. I just don't know that it's officially not having a classroom roster to you. You may or may not have access. So I'm not exactly sure with that, but you can try. If the link is there, click on it and try it.
I know that I didn't have it, so it might be also rostering as well, since I did not have anything beyond the history PE 6th grade while I was over at Sequoia. So it might just be rostering, and that the IT needs to just put you in.
Great questions. So the one last thing I'm going to spend maybe 2 minutes on, I'm not going to go in great detail, is rubrics. Rubrics can give students information that can help them understand why they get the grade that they're going to get. So if you created a new assignment, and let's just say it was a narrative essay, and you had a specific rubric you wanted to grade students on, right down here is rubric. If you click plus right here, you can create a new rubric. You can reuse a rubric that you've created in the past, or you can even import one. So I'm going to create one real fast just to show you. So this first criterion that I'm going to use is conventions. And so I'm going to make a description right here so they understand what conventions I want. I'm going to make it a total of 4 points possible. And I would have descriptions as to what would qualify a 1 versus a 2 versus a 3 versus a 4. So it takes a little bit of time to set this up front. If I add another one, which could be citing, actually using evidence from text, I can make it also a 4-point item. So I can click save now. Now, when students turn in this essay, when I'm in the grading part of it, I'll be able to pull up this rubric and say, okay, this student scored a 3 in conventions and a 1 in using evidence from text. That way, rather than seeing the Google Classroom or the Aries gradebook grade of whatever grade they got, they'll have a clear reason as to why they got as many points as they got based on a rubric. And you can share rubrics. For example, if I want to delete this rubric, if I delete it, it's permanently deleted, but I can reuse a rubric, and I can use one that I made earlier today. I can also import from other Google Classrooms. So if we as a PLC got together and decided this is our rubric, I can also export a rubric. I can export a rubric or import a rubric. That's a really funny word to say over and over again, but that would let you speed up that process. So there's going to be rubric tutorials on the DFP website. If I went too fast for guided reading, DFP, go.bcst, EdTech tutorials, scroll down, guided reading. There's 2 6-minute videos to walk you through that. If I went too fast with Go Guardian tutorials right there. So yeah, super useful. And so now we're going to sort of switch gears a little bit. Al's going to take over. He's going to do a little bit of talking now. And I will switch places with him, man the chat, while he helps us learn a little bit more about Google Sites. Looks like there's a question in the chat. Do you attach Get Epic the same way as Benchmark and Guided Reading? So Epic, you would have to navigate to the specific book you wanted to share with them. Sorry, my camera was off. Epic, you want to navigate to the specific book you want, go to the URL, copy the URL, and then paste it in. They'll have to click it twice. They'll have to click it once and then log into Epic, and then go back to Google Classroom and click it again. But once they've logged into Epic, they should be able to click on that as many times as they want to.
Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and kick into gear from here. We're going to go into Google Sites, and we're going to do a few things with Sites. Now, the first thing is I do want to express the fact that since we're not going to be able to be physically present with the students as well as with the parents and other people like our staff members, PLCs, we're not going to physically PLC with them. Google Sites may be a very good way to host things in contrast to, I don't know, maybe using Google Classroom or Drive, and I'll show you why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And here we go. So I'm going to go to my Drive right now. And I like showing this example. I haven't been in the district for very many years, about 5 or so years. So if you look over here, I have a lot of folders. That's just folders, not just files that are just everywhere. And these are all my team drives. I bet you could tell that I probably lose some things in here.
Al,
And we're
could you
gonna,
zoom in a little bit so your resolution's pretty high? Thanks.
there we go. So I fixed it on the other one. Oops. Thank you. So as you can see, I've got a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna have to float through all of these folders. It's gonna be a mess. So if I want to create something and keep it within a little self-contained area, make sure that everything that either my team is making or that I'm making for my parents, it doesn't get lost, and I can keep everything in there. While I can search and make things a little bit less hectic, it would be nice, visually appealing to do so. So what I'm going to do is, you can do this in a variety of different ways. You can go and you can click in your drive by hitting, where is it? New, more, and then you can scroll down to sites. And that's one way. A second way is opening up a new tab and going Google Sites. If you see right over here, it says Google Sites. It'll show you classic sites, which is something that we don't want to use. We want to use the new one. New has a little bit more of a nicer formatting, it's a little bit more user-friendly, and it removes some of the more utilitarian aspects of it, so it doesn't look as kind of like clean cut to a point where it looks more informational. This is going to be more media centric. Another way in which you can access this is if you're using any part of the Google Suite like Drive or Docs or whatever. If you see the waffle up in the corner, let me zoom in, the waffle up in the corner, you can see Sites. Sites is right over here. It's that little blue square here with the white in the corner. So why would we use Sites? Well, we're going to need some examples. So I'm going to switch over to the Google Classroom. In our Google Classroom, we've provided a few examples. In addition to some of the things like the tech presentations, the parking lots, the guided reading materials, we want to make sure you got all of you have exemplars as to what would we do. The first thing is we have a teacher portfolio. Our parents will not know who's teaching their students until they come and hang out in one of our Zooms by peering over one of their, over their student's shoulder and saying who's in there. So this is one way to demonstrate a little bit of that kind of like a community-oriented, forward-looking towards parents and everything like that. And I know that I've gone through the checklist of all the things that I need to do. Am I reaching out to parents? Am I trying to help students? This is one of the ways in which we can do that. This is Christy Clark, second grade teacher. You can see that she's got an About Me. The tops area over here as an educational philosophy. This is kind of like when you do your little portfolio. I know when I was at Laverne, they made all the teacher candidates go through and make their own little digital portfolio. And you know, when teachers had the milk crate with the folder for each student, you can have the students do the same thing, and it could be their digital portfolio as well. So it doesn't just have to be yours; it could be theirs as well. It could be a year-long thing or a quarterly thing, depending on how you do it. Um, there are a couple of sub pages, embedded slideshows. That's pretty cool. All kinds of stuff that can go in there to kind of demonstrate what this teacher is all about. Secondly, you can go to, and this is a teacher resource. This is Ms. Gonzalez's class. Ms. Gonzalez was over at McKinley, and this is the home page. It's really nice. You've got this image carousel over here that you can go through and see all these different images. It's really nice. You've got the way in which to contact this teacher. So what's the email for the teacher in case the parents want to say hello? Google Voice. I know that my school site encouraged all of us to have a Google Voice, that way we could communicate with our parents and students through the distance learning when we started in March. In addition, this is Class Dojo, and the Class Dojo is how to use it and everything like that. When you click here, it is Class Dojo for parents, the direct link, so that the parent can log in and then communicate with the teacher and see the student's points. There's also the student side over here. Oh, we've got all of these buttons. So if you know that your students, when they open up their Chromebooks, that they have their home page. And that's really important because students have difficulty navigating stuff when it's kind of foreign, when they have to start from a blank slate. So when you go to the student screen here, and Mrs. Gonzalez is really smart about this. This is the student Chrome homepage. So as you can see, there's Achieve 3000, there's Google Classroom, Smarty Ant, Starfall, WeVideo, just a bunch of that stuff that the students use on a day-to-day basis. Well, they have access to it if they just go to Mrs. Gonzalez's website and click Students and click Student Screen. I mean, we've got a bunch of these other applications and whatnot that Myon that the students are used to using. So this is not something that's just thrown out just without any titles or anything. These are things that the students use all the time, and that when going through the practices and going through direct instruction, you know, she can easily just grab this link and just use GoGuardian to open up Chrome tabs for every student. So that, which is another feature of GoGuardian, which is really awesome that I use.
Yes, that's correct. This is actually not designed in Google Classroom. This is more of just a concept of ideas you could include in Google Classroom. We didn't have a whole lot of samples created within our district, but I just linked one from Ken Walker in the chat, who works at Williams? No, I forget what school he works at. Anyway, he's got a fantastic site that he guides his students through every year. So, but yeah, we use Mrs. Gonzalez's site just to show you the concept of what kinds of things you could include on a website to foster communication beyond just direct messages.
Thank you, Chris. We have the parent section over here with Class Dojo, and what is Class Dojo? What is it about, and how to
Sorry,
either sign
Fremont.
Fremont. Cool. We'll go ahead and we'll link that in the classroom so that people can look at it and take a good look at it. So if when you are able to, you'll be able to see that, and we'll add it in with the rest of the Google exemplars. So to sign up, this is how to sign up. So instructions for parents. And then teachers. These are some resources for teachers and how to do things like the ELA and math and science units. So especially if she needs to go back and look at those really quickly while she's perusing her site and saying, okay, I don't feel like going and searching the BCSD website and going through the subfolders and pages. Just do this real quick. It's really nice to kind of link for yourself. This is an example here. This is 7th, 8th grade example. So when you're looking at upper grades, if you wanted to do something with a little bit more structure to having a lesson and then just having everything spread out instead of jam-packed in a classroom, we know that if we put a bunch of stuff in classroom, it'll fill up really quickly. It just took a week and a half, and our classroom is pretty stuffed. So if you look at this is the home page, what is propaganda? So we can use media to kind of open up the topic of propaganda. You can put YouTube links and have them play, as well as embed a Google form. So that's pretty neat. You don't have to leave the teacher's website. So if a teacher wants to use GoGuardian to pulse students to a specific site that they can do everything in one go and not have to leave, it could be used as an actual assignment for the student. So when you look at the site, you have a resource for a parent, resource for a student, resource for a teacher, an assignment, and now we can see actual creating content. Now, for example, if you're using sites with your PLC, you can organize everything in the same space and everybody can take a page and then build the lessons. So for example, this is Egypt. I know my team was doing this a couple of years ago and we decided to put stuff together for Egypt. So what we did was we took a bunch of stuff, including textbook pages, so students could have access to the textbook if they were absent or if they wanted to look at something again, they could. This is embedded directly in there so that that way they don't have to leave or open it up, which is pretty neat. There's audio over here. Let me tone that down before it makes everyone deaf. So that works. So we have audio. So there's learning attention success criteria. You can put things in there and organize stuff for yourself. So that way, if you wanted to do something like that, you could say, all right, well, I know that we're going to be covering this and we could organize standards and put everything in there to create a simple lesson plan that would work, and we could expand it out. Again, part of the appeal of the site is to open things up because visually sometimes it's easier to recognize icons and pictures by looking at them rather than just to see a little blip. Okay, this is assignment, this is assignment, this is assignment. Some of us are more visual people, and this might help if this works for you then and your students, then that's great. After that, you can direct your students to um, assignments and put buttons and links so that that way you can take a student back to the classroom and they can do the work. We'll show you how to use buttons and link things in the when we're working on our site. So now I showed a few ways in which you can access Google Sites, and if you go here, right over under the examples is the Google sign-in for sites. So again, it is in the chat and it's also right here. So I'm just going to click this button and it takes me to Google Sites. Now I've been doing this a couple times, so I have a few examples of sites. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit blank. You could use one of the templates, but I wanted to start fresh so that way we could go through all of the steps. Now I know that I'm gonna have to keep on zooming in and out because my resolution is ridiculous. So I'm gonna go to the top left corner and hit blank where there's that nice big colorful plus sign. And I'll wait for all of you to get there so that way you are at this particular page. So I'll wait, and then when you're done, you can go to the participants section, and then you can hit yes. If you're having difficulty getting to Google Sites, just let us know, and then we'll get you there.
If you had a little bit of a brain freeze at the moment, go ahead and go to Google Sites. Click on the blank plus. And let us know. We'll give you a second to do that.
We've got 4 people with a yes.
Hey, look, they retained what we talked about a whole hour ago. Thanks, guys.
So this is part of the part of with our students. It's a good way to take a break, um, pause, make sure students can catch up. We want to also let them know, okay, while they're on mute, they can always respond to us and say, yes, go slower, go faster. Those buttons are there for a reason, and there will be a few numbers, and it'll tell us how many students need us to go faster or slower, if they're ready or not. And we've gotten a good bunch of people who said they are ready. One person did say no. So if they want to, they can go ahead and PM Chris, and Chris can help them out. Alrighty. So we are going to move forward, and for the sake of time. On the top left corner, in order to have your site be shareable, you need to go to the top left corner and name your site. So I'm going to do this and say, this is the teacher website. And that way I can, it's something generic, but at least it will allow me to save it. I can always change it later. When I click this, over here where it says enter site name will change, letting me know that the document was successfully renamed. That means it's going to start actually like saving it, because when you go into Drive and you make a random file, most oftentimes if you have not touched it or anything like that, it may or may not save it. So that just depends on if you did that. Now, I have named my site, so I need to go to the top right corner and hit publish. This is important because that is our save button. If you do not hit publish, it will not save. That's just like I wrote on this sticky note and I just threw it over. So please hit publish on the top right corner. When you do so, this will allow you to see what your site will be named. When you saw our go.bcsd.com/DFP, that's the name of our EdTech website, we used the Google shortener. You can use that, and then also you can shorten the name over here. I have teacher website. I can get rid of this and put 3 letters or 4 letters, 5 letters, just a few letters, just so that way it's shorter. And I know that sometimes when you see, like at the top of my screen, it has a bunch of letters and numbers and symbols that'll just make it really annoying to write down. So now that I'm right here and I have a name that's accepted, it has a check mark, letting me know that I can use that and it's not in use by any other teacher or student in the district. Who can view my site? This is important because, again, the purpose, the reason why we went over the exemplars is to identify the purpose of using this site. So if I'm going to make a site that's just for my PLC, when I go to manage, I have to go down to change, and I'm going to restrict only people added can open this link. So that means maybe if I just only want my PLC to work on some stuff and the whole district and all the students don't need to see, that's fine. Restricted. Keep draft restricted just by default. If I go to Bakersfield City School District, that means that when I have published, I have hit publish, all students and all staff at Bakersfield City School District are able to view this. If I want to, I can go to public, which means everyone, including my parents, can see this. So if I want an outward facing Google site, which I want, I'm going to use public. I'm going to hit done.
Al, can you go through that process one more time before you finish it? Just so I've labeled my site and I'm ready to publish the link. Can you go through that step by step one more time?
You've got it. So we have our teacher website. It is now named. In order to hit our save button, we need to do a few things. On the top right corner, I'm going to hit publish. There's that big blue button, and I'm going to hit it. This is web address. Again, if I want to rename my site because I don't like what it's done, taking away my space and giving me a hyphen, I can get rid of this and name it something simple. I put pop. Now I need to see who is going to have access to my site. Again, the reason why we said it is because we needed to know our purpose. Is it for a restricted group of people, for everyone in BCSD, or everyone in the world, including our parents, because we wanted to make an outward facing. So under who can view my site, I'm going to click manage. Under links on the bottom, it says links vary and hit change. There's a blue word here. When I click it, I can see whether or not I have given access to specific people. This drop down allows me to have restricted for maybe like my PLC or for my staff. If I'm an admin or a coach and I wanted only people at McKinley or Sequoia or Fremont to have access to it, and all of BCSD, so even the students, and public for everyone, including my parents. So I'm going to choose public and hit done.
And we want you to experiment with public right now because we're going to show you something in just a few minutes that's going to make your life a lot easier when you're trying to communicate with parents. So you can delete this later if you don't want to use it, but please make a public one now.
Indeed, we want to make sure that you have experimentation, and that way you can always dial back the permissions. So let's just open it up. This is search settings. Now, request public search engines to not display my site. I'm just going to leave that open for right now, simply because the Google and artificial intelligence will allow this to be indexed with all the rest of the sites on the web. So in like a week or two, it will start showing up when you can type in BCSD and then hit and BCSD and then pop in Google Sites, and it could pop up, which is pretty cool. Now I'm going to hit publish. So that way I can save it. If you notice that in the background, or maybe either in yours or in mine, the linking icon to get the link for my site will not show up. It is gray right now at the top because I have not published my site. I'm going to hit publish. Oh, it's filled in. Great. So now people can actually access my site, and because whenever I hit publish and save something, there's actually something there. I'm going to click this little link. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to put this in the chat so that way you can see the differences. So here we go. This is going to be very important. That link that I gave could be the same thing that you give to your parents or to your students or to your staff. That is how you share the published site. Not give permissions to edit, but to just show the site. If you wanted to add a collaborator, you would have to click the person with the plus that says share with others. And then you could start adding people on. And this is for editors. This is for people to just view.
So like that DFP website that we created was created using Google Sites, and we use it by collaborating between teachers. So there's about 15 of us who have access to edit the content on that website right now. This wasn't a district decision. It was sort of a fly by the seat of our pants. We got it all together. So that was one of the benefits of this. It allowed for easy, quick collaboration to get content loaded.
Now, we're going to go through looking at our site, and as we create stuff, just kind of like how we did with our DFP site, we provided a homepage. So I'm going to call this homepage just for the sake of making it nice and clean and straightforward. Now, whenever people come to a homepage, usually they're greeted with a nice picture or something like that. You can do that. Also, you can see what the size of that header, this nice little blue thing over here, what is it going to look like? So if I hit header type, I can choose the size of it. As you can see, the header is pretty big, kind of bigger, smaller, or it completely goes away and all you see is home page. For the sake of the argument, I'm going to use large banner so that way I can demonstrate what it would look like. if you want to fiddle around with all of this and see what it looks like for a person on their phone or on a tablet or in landscape and on a desktop or laptop, you can use this preview button to see what it looks like. This is allowing you to be mindful of the fact that if you're going to be giving something to parents and they might use it on their phones, if you wanted to orient the size of a particular item and you wanted to make it accessible to them, you can do so by hitting preview and preview what the site would look like. This is on the large screen, so a laptop or desktop. This is what it would look like on a tablet, and that's what it would look like on a phone. Again, you have that functionality in front of you. Also, on the right-hand side, just speaking of how things are designed, if you do not like the way in which things are set up, if the font and the coloring scheme are not really to your liking, you can use themes on the right-hand side. Themes allows you to use a bunch of different pre-selections for font and color. Google understands that you're trying to build a website and that you may or may not be really that wanting to have to fiddle with 32 font or 12 font to make sure everything goes a specific way. So they have pre-selections that work together well. I'm going to use impression. And if I don't like that color, I'm going to change it. I'm at Sierra, so I'm going to use green. So again, you can fiddle around with that to your heart's desire. That's just your personal flair and how you want things to work. So I'm going to hit insert because this is where the bread and butter is, this insert tab. I can put one of many things. I can put a text box by clicking this and it pops up with a text box. And I can type text here and change its size and orientation to make it a little bit more accessible, maybe as a title, or I can put it as an accent to some kind of picture or video. If I didn't want to create that and I wanted to use one of these predefined layouts to speed up the process, Google has provided those. So this first one over here, it has a picture with a title and some text. If that is a little bit too difficult to see, I can go to the left-hand side and use this color palette in order to change this section's background. I'm just going to click it and change it to the green so that it's easier to see. Chris, how are we doing?
Great. No questions so far. People seem to be following quite well.
All right. So I know everybody loves pictures, so let's do this really quickly. This is a placeholder. It has a plus over here. If I wanted to add any extra placeholders, there's a button down here on the Insert tab that says Placeholder. And I can make as many as I want. I don't need them right now, so I'm going to delete them just to get them out of the way. Let's hit this plus and see what we can put in here. We can have stuff from Drive, images, YouTube, calendar, maps. There's a bunch of stuff we can add in here. So for right now, I'm just going to click select image, and I can put up all kinds of images. Let's go to Google image search, and I know that I'm going to be using Google Classroom, so I'm going to type in Google Classroom. And there's a logo. If I want it, I can either click and hit the insert button, or I can just double click. And you see how it's chopped it off on the sides a little bit? If I take this little blue bubble and I just drag it a little bit, it will automatically resize. Okay. And I'll put in some text. As you can see, it's already predefined to being a title, and then this is the normal text. So we do our work here. Pretty neat. So it's very straightforward in a way in which you can do things. Now, as you saw with the Mrs. Gonzalez's website, she had a lot of her pictures linked, which is really important because students, especially in the lower grades, need to see an image and they click on it like if they did on their tablet, and then it'll be linked, which is pretty straightforward for them. So I'm going to go to the Expanding Tech classroom that we were in. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to click classwork. And I'm going to just copy this link here, just for the sake of the argument, and go back to my teacher website. Now, anytime I click on an image, you'll see a bunch of stuff, such as crop, uncrop, insert link, trash, and then change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert link here. And I'm going to paste my link. Now all I have to do is hit apply. Now that I've done this, I'm going to hit publish. Now that I've done a bunch of things to this site, as you can see, this is the blank on the right-hand side of all the stuff that I didn't do. And on the left-hand side is all the things that I did do. If you see over here, it says updated home. That means I worked on the home page. So if I click that, it'll take me to that site. If I did multiple pages and edited them, I would be able to do the same and click them and see how those pages were changed. If I want to see how this looks in a bigger format, all I have to do is click this button and it makes it look bigger. I'm going to hit publish. Now all of you, if you want to, can click the link to my site and you would have access to the Google Classroom button, because all you would have to do is click the button. And there we go. You can do that for assignments. You can do that for the classwork or the stream. You can do all of that. Anything can be linked, essentially, if you think about it. And you don't have to worry about students getting lost. You can have a list of things that they need to do and where they need to go. Mrs. Gonzalez used the image carousel, which is right over here. Carousel must have 2 images. So she'd use this, and I'll just choose colors just for the sake of the argument. And I'm going to select a bunch of these things. Then I'm going to hit insert. Again, whenever you're looking at stuff on mobile, you want to center things. It makes things a lot easier. And I'm going to publish. So whenever I look at my preview, as you can see over here, there's that image carousel of all the different things. I can set this to autoplay if I want to, but I'm letting you know that this is what she did. Again, if you click the image carousel and you hit the settings, you can auto start and update. It's just a matter of just clicking the gear, and you can choose what you want to do. Publish. And now I can preview. All right, it moves on its own. Now we need to know how to make extra pages. And this is the part that Chris was talking about when we were talking about communicating with parents. I'm going to go to Pages. And this is going to be a doozy. I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to link a page, and then I'm going to create a page. Now, I know that BCSD has this awesome website called DFP. I love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link. go.bcsd.com/DFP. I'm going to return to my website. You see under pages, if I scroll down, there's this plus here. And it says new link. If I want to link to another website, this is what I do. Ed Tech website. go.bcsd.com/DFP. I'm going to start making a shirt that says DFP. And then whenever I make a change, I'm going to hit publish. Boom. Again, I got to check it by hitting preview. And as you can see, these three bars came up on the top. That means I have subpages or extra pages to mess with. So let me go ahead and click that. EdTech website, the holy grail. And it works. We're in business. So again, if you want to add an external website, go to Pages, go down to the plus, and hit New Link. So that way you can open up a whole new world for anybody who wants to go somewhere else other than your amazing site. Now we're going to make our own pages. Because you know that on our EdTech website, we have a bunch of pages and sub-pages that we went through. So let's do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, Pages, New Page. And now I have to put a name for it. Since we're going to talk to our parents, I think one of the things that we should do is provide a calendar so that parents have an idea of what's going on with their students' work. Assignment calendar. Now, before anyone gets scared, classroom and sites live in two different planets. They're elsewhere. They're on two different worlds. If you link something in classroom on the site, no one has access to it unless they're in the classroom. Say, for example, I gave somebody the parking lot and they were not enrolled in the classroom. They had no access to the file. That lets me know that I need to add them into the classroom or help them join. So I have my assignment calendar. That thing's way too big. That header is way too big. I already had that on the first page. I don't need to have it again. So I'm going to go to header type and make that a lot smaller, but title only. That's an obstruction at that point. I want them to see the calendar, not the title. I don't care. So now I've got that set up. Now let's insert that calendar because I want my parents to know exactly when little Timmy has his assignment due. That way they can tell him to do it. That way I don't have to chase him down. So placeholders, we can use placeholders if we wanted to set it up, but we're just going to go straight to calendar. So under insert, if we scroll down, it says calendar. And I'm going to click that thing. As you can see, there's all my Google Classrooms. And that's a lot of classroom, I'm telling you that. That is a lot of classroom. Whew. So if I have a lot of classrooms and I want to search quickly for a classroom, let me go to hit search. There's that magnifying glass right there. Search. And if I want to and I see it really quickly here, there's the expanding tech classroom. All right, I can add that in there. I just clicked it and hit insert. Let me go to calendar and actually type in something in the search. Let me type in example. Ooh, I've got 6th grade ELA, I've got 6th grade history and math because I was working on those. So let me double click on each one of these and add them in there. It's that quick. So now that I'm done with that, I'm just going to hit this back arrow and then close this out. I don't need that anymore. Again, when you have something that's visual like this, probably be easier to center align, especially for those people who are on mobile. So I'm going to drag those into the middle. So that's all nice and everything, but I need to see if it works. So I'm going to go to preview. All right. Looks like we're in. But there's another thing that I need to do. As I said before, Google Classroom is only shared with the students, but the calendar for the Google Classroom needs to be public for the parents to see it. So I got to go to Google Calendar. There's an easy way to do that. I'm going to go to the top and go hit this plus. And on the top right corner, I can use the this waffle here. I can use that. Or conversely, I can use the simple calendar.google.com. I could just type it straight in. I mean, I know what Google Calendar is. If I didn't, and I just typed in Google Calendar, it'd be the first thing that pops up. It wouldn't matter. I just click Google Calendar. So there are a couple ways. You could type it in as the full web address. You can use the waffle, or you can type in Google Calendar into the address bar, and it will pop up as probably the first thing. So I'm in my Google Calendar. As you can see, I'm probably in this text training, and we have a little bit of time left. So that nice little red bar lets me know. Let me scroll down here, and there's a lot of calendar here. I mean, I've got a lot of classrooms with calendars. So I know I can archive them all like this and hide from list. And that goes away. Also, let's see here. I have 6th grade history, social science. See how it says other calendars? I didn't make this, so I do not have the permissions to do that. I don't have the permissions to change it. But I did make the expanding tech classroom, all sessions. So when I click those 3 little dots, I can go to my settings and sharing. And I can scroll down, and it says access permissions. Do you see how it says make available to public? If I click that, it goes away. No, nobody can see it unless they're in BCSD. It says make available for BCSD. If I want, I can get rid of it. Nobody can see it. But let me make it access to everybody. Make calendar public. Will make all events visible to the world. All right. But now there's probably somebody who's sweating and just says, oh my God, I just gave everybody in the world, including everyone in Russia and China and Japan. Everybody has it. Oh Lord. The whole world is going to figure out what I'm doing with my students. Well, let me show you how it shows. In the preview, I'm going to change the preview to large screen. I'm going to go to expanding tech. I can see the agenda for the day, for the week, or for the month. Ooh, there's an assignment here. It's on Wednesday, the 22nd. So a parent can look at your classroom to this degree, just knowing what's the assignment. They're not able to enter and start seeing all the students and what's attached to it. No, they can't. So look over here. You just say assignment, the name, when is it due, the description, and they can copy that notice to their calendar. It doesn't copy the materials and everything. It just copies the notice. If they go to more details, as you see, this is my private account. I just did this for the sake of the argument. Let me see if I can access the Google Classroom. I mean, all you see is expanding tech classrooms, all sessions, created by Alexander Salem. Oh, I don't have access. Oh, there's no classroom. Oh, well, that means nobody can just jump into your classroom. That's secure.
So he kind of did that on the sly. Alex opened a separate tab, logged in with a different Google account that's not a BCSD account. So he just showed you what a parent would experience if they tried to click on a link and visit that Google Classroom assignment. So whenever you name something, you would see the title and whatever instructions you put in. But then all the details are hidden behind the security of Google Classroom.
Yep. So nobody can just jump in there. You see that little Google Calendar thing right there? That just let me know that I could add the whatever the notice that Oh, I made an assignment. Okay, that's cool. And I can use Google Translate if I want to. That's just cool. So if parents or ELs, they need that, that's just a click away.
And so now essentially what you've done is saved yourself a bunch of time by not having to set up an agenda to send out to parents of what's due every day. If you set it up in Google Classroom with due dates for each assignment, then parents are going to be able to go on here, see this calendar, and see it auto-populate with what you load into your Google Classroom. This is not something that's required or expected of you. We just wanted an easy way for you to communicate your assignments with teachers or with parents without having to create yet another document, because we have so many documents to create. This just runs off of Google Classroom.
Again, who wants to continually update a parent newsletter of every assignment that you have constantly? It's just extra work for you, and you already know that you have so many things to do. And this is a new system of learning and teaching that you have to go through, and it's really stressful, not only on you, not only on the student, on the parents, everybody. So if you had the idea of wanting to communicate to parents, and you don't feel like it every day posting something in Class Dojo to every one of your students, especially if you're 7th and 8th grade and you have 6 classes. Just do this here, one and done. So again, you have this and you can add all kinds of stuff in here. We're talking about, like, if your parents need help with stuff, you can always hit insert from Drive. And if you've got a folder of a bunch of resources for your parents, I do, like instructional videos, like how to do all kinds of stuff. I have it right here. There's area, there's changing words into math. Here's some of the stuff from the distance learning packet that we did. The dogs and cats problem, essays, and me reading over the essays and how to annotate. I've got it all here, and I'm just clicking all this stuff and just putting it in there. These are videos. These are PDFs that students during asynchronous learning, they can go back and look at stuff. And if you organize it in a neat way, then you can go week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and have this for your students. Have it for your parents. Transparency, but then also, there's that whole thing about the teacher told me something I don't understand, I don't know. And then parent goes, looks at it and says, oh yeah, it was pretty clear. Looks at their kid. Then maybe you shouldn't have been playing Fortnite on your phone while your teacher was Zooming with you. So again, those are resources that you have available to you, and some kind of system for not only the parents, but for you or for your staff, if you're admin or coach, or for your PLC if you want to organize things. So make sure that you look at that, and also that you go to the DFP and go to lessons by grade and check out all the resources that we have for every grade level. We got 3rd grade, we've got 8th grade, we've got 6th grade, we've got example classrooms for all the subjects. You can go in there and check it out and see how we're building things to give you a leg up. So again, thank you for coming. And I know that we're cutting time close, and it's 5 o'clock. You want to go eat dinner and you want to go to sleep. So go ahead and
I've just dropped in the evaluation and the attendance links. Please make sure you visit both of those. If you are on a Chromebook, here's an interesting thing for you as a teacher that you'll have to come across. If you drop a link like that into a Chromebook, students cannot click on them. They actually have to copy and paste them, because on a Chromebook, you can copy and paste from the chat, but you cannot copy and paste from a chat in a Windows or a Mac computer. You need to make sure you put HTTP in front of it and put that in the chat. So of all the things you need to remember, there's that odd fact right there. And as you guys are filling out that form, I just want to drop a quick link inside the chat to take you to a tutorial that I shared on a few social media platforms that really kind of eased the minds of some people who couldn't quite wrap their mind around who couldn't quite ease their or wrap their mind around modeling something in the classroom or from home using technology, because it's not as easy as just turning on a Chromebook, turning it around, and then standing in front of your smart board. There's a little more involved. So on that link right there, which is on the EdTech site, if you scroll down, there is using an iPad or a tablet as a second device. And I take 3 minutes and I show you how basically using you can also do it with an iPhone or an Android tablet. Download the Zoom app. You can share your screen and share your slides through your tablet, which would allow you to use a stylus to write on top of it and use that as your screen and use your computer as your monitoring service. So you could have all of your students' webcams up on your computer while you monitor off to the side right here. So it might be a little hard to visualize that, but it's really not very hard to do. All you do is download the Zoom app on a tablet, like Al has got his tablet. You can, if you see his item right there, he's gonna he's showing you how just to use a webcam pointed at your tablet, but that's not what I mean. What
Second device.
What I'm talking about is he would join the Zoom with his tablet using the Zoom app on the tablet. Then you can use presentation tools with the tablet to use that as your shared screen. That would allow you to draw on the tablet, to model on the tablet, instead of having to have, you know, a whiteboard behind you and do this and hope the students can see it. You can have a nice, bright, clear digital picture that you can see as you're drawing. And that way, on your computer up here, when you're talking to them, you can have their faces here, so you're looking at their faces. And then over here on the side, you can write on your tablet and present that way. It sounds more complicated than it is. If you click on that link and watch the little iPad video, it's about 3 or 4 minutes, it'll help answer those questions if you're interested in doing that. It's just a little more easy than a doc cam, because doc cams are very finicky with light. My room looks pretty bright right now, but even using a doc cam in this bright of a room is fairly difficult. So there's, yes, Sidecar, there's all kinds of apps you can use for that, and the internet is there. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. There's also some other videos on that page of how people organize their desks, and you can see into the private lives of Al and myself, so you can see our desks if you're really that interested in it. So there's 3 minutes left. I'm going to hang out as long as you guys have questions. Feel free to hang out, but enjoy the rest of your evening. Relax as you can. Hopefully you don't have too many more trainings to go to this week. And Al and I are very responsive via chat, or not chat, email, if you have a question for us.
And have a fabulous year.
So I'll put those links in one more time. If you missed it, go bcsed.com/DQU and DP4. Those are the evals and sign outs, so you can sign up. And again, I'll be here. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, or put it in the chat if you don't feel like talking.
Thank you, Chris and Alex. Great job again today.
You guys are amazing. It was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Chris, I have a question, or it actually could be for both of you guys. So with the Google Classroom, how you were showing you could put your small group labeled in purple group, blue group. Do you think that it's going to be easier to do? Like, I thought that I would be putting things in by week. So week 1, or, you know, just have the date range as my topics so that they were labeled that way. Are you saying that you wouldn't do that? Or?
No, you could. I was just using that as an example just to highlight how I would keep those 4 students separate. So you could easily keep an assignment inside a week schedule that's only with those 4 students. So that would just be sort of teacher preference, how they organize their Google Classroom. If you want everything by week, it'll still say 4 students on your assignment right there. So you'll know which ones it's assigned to. Oh, look, Al connected his tablet so he can model showing a whiteboard with his tablet.
How are you going to set up your Google Classroom?
How
How are you going
I-
to set up your topics? I guess I should ask.
I'm going to start by day and see how many I'm going to have. I still haven't met with my PLCs to sort of plan how we're going to do that. Going by day works really well. Going by weeks works really well. In the past, when I was in the classroom, I organized by subject. But the problem is, if you organize by subject, kids have to scroll a lot, because if math is up here, ELA is down here, within 2 weeks, there's going to be pages and pages and pages and pages. So day is probably my recommendation. So each new day would go on top of the other one, and all the assignments would be on there, and that'd be easiest to organize. And since everything is remote, I would probably figure out some sort of naming convention. So I would have a similar, like all my ELA assignments would be maybe numbered ELA 001, ELA 002, or however, whatever my normal lesson plan is going to be. That's probably how I would organize.
Okay. And then are you going to do your like daily lesson in like a Google slide and just share your screen on, just slides, or are you doing it some other way?
Oh, that's other good news. Smart Notebook developed an iOS app. So if you have created lots of lessons in Smart Notebook and you want to use, like Al is doing his little love letter to all of us on his tablet, if you join with your iPad and you can connect your Smart Notebook file to your iPad, you could actually bring up those Smart Notebook files on your iPad and show them that way if you've already created them. If Al is currently using an Android tablet, so it works with any kind of tablet. Zoom has the app for iOS as well as Android. And even if you had like a touchscreen computer, you could use that in a similar fashion. But the goal of having a second device would be to have one device for cameras and one device for presenting, because you guys are absorbing this as we go. So you can choose whether or not you see participants, but as a presenter, your screen is what you're sharing,
Yeah.
and you can't see all of your students when you're presenting. So that's why we recommend a second device.
Yeah, I'm doing summer school right now and I'm using one device, and it's like I'm minimizing the kids on one side and writing down notes that I'm trying to remember that were on my screen. So I'm definitely going to look into how you did the second device.
Yeah, so actually what I could do with my second device is start off in like a drawing or a note-taking app like Notability or GoodNote or something like that when I'm modeling. And then if I can jump into Google Slides, I can go over to the Google Slides app and actually share my whole screen on the iPad and go through each slide. And I demonstrate that in that video on the link that I just shared.
Thank you.
Sure.
Also, if you're wondering, I can click here on the share. It says whiteboard. And there you go. There's a little button over here that lets me edit. And I can choose my colors.
Sure, I'll reshare that link for you.
So that's pretty fun. So you can do that, and you could do it on your phone if you want to. Like you do not have to use the tablet and spend like $1 bazillion. You can use your phone and use your fingers. So if you wanted to do math, you can. You can do like that.
That's a link straight to my presentation rather than going to the website. It doesn't matter how old your iPad is. I think even the older versions, as long as you still get
And my teaching ability. If I
updates.
just add a simple
Oh,
tablet,
someone's listening to it already.
I can do this by utilizing
So
Zoom.
I'm going to mute you real quick if you don't mind. There we go. So, yep. You don't have to have new technology. Don't go buy anything new. Chances are someone you know has an iPad that they're not using anymore because people bought those like candy over the years, right? If you can avoid buying anything, because who knows what next year is going to be like after this year budget-wise. We want to save as much money as we can.
You don't need to have specifically just that. Just an Apple. Anything will do. Chris has a good example with the iPad. So again, do not stress about what device you need. Just so long as you have a device that has Zoom, that you connect to your Zoom, and that you, just like I said, just like on the button on the bottom, it just said share screen, and it said whiteboard, and you just click whiteboard. And then you can just use your fingers. You don't need a stylus. If you want to get a cheap stylus, that's like $1 or $2, and you can just.
Yeah, someone asked about the Apple Pen, and I would say it's a really expensive stylus. It does 10% more than what a $2 stylus does, and it has to be charged. If it runs out of battery, it won't work. So unless you're planning on becoming a digital artist and using your iPad for digital artistry, don't buy an Apple Pen.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
My question is, I teach primary grades, first grade, and I really like the Ms. Gonzalez homepage. Would that be easier for primary grades so they have an area where they just go for everything? Because that's one thing I noticed last semester, my kids were like, where do I go for this? Where do I go for that? So I really like the just having the one page and just having all the links.
Yep.
Is that something you guys would recommend? And it seemed pretty easy to do.
Yeah, start collecting images of things that represent the websites and things you're going to use. Start organizing them on the Google Sites. If you need help, Al and I are very helpful people. We will make personal appointments if you want them to walk you through building that website. We'll even help you out if you need that. So just drop us an email. I'm sure Ken could even help you if he was there too. He's really experienced with tech. He used to be the core member, but he decided to let the young ones have experience. So
thank you. Where do you get the emojis on a Chrome?
Ooh, yeah. I got a bookmark site for that.
The emojis?
The Bitmojis for the Chrome?
For Bitmojis, there's an extension you have to install in order to get there, and it's actually just a Bitmoji extension. Students don't have the ability to install that extension, but you can install that extension if you want to get a Bitmoji. Are you looking that up, Al?
I'm typing stuff into that chat. So
Thank you.
Yeah. What else? Got people here who aren't leaving, so you must have questions or want some more knowledge somehow.
It's just nice to have people interaction.
Oh, that's true.
Man, one ambition, one desire.
You may notice that the audio quality is a little better in this session than some of the other ones. Al and I happen to have headsets that we use. It just helps have a clear sound on the listener side. We didn't buy these new. We had them from our own lives. They're targeted at gamers, so they cost a little bit more, but there's lots of wireless and wired headsets that you can get on Amazon for between $20 and $300 if you want to spend that much. But if you want to have less ambient noise, because there's no noise going along because it's just this close to my mouth and you can have a nice clear sound, I do recommend having a headset because sometimes you may have experienced some people, even in the district offices who have newer computers, have microphones that sound like they're in a tin can 10 miles away.
There is noise cancellation. And if you wanted to, you can mute yourself by doing this.
I'll give you a link to the Bitmoji extension.
Oh, it's in there in the chat a couple times. Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could literally go into Google and type in Bitmoji.
Well, thank you guys again. You're always awesome.
Thanks, Monica.
Yes.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
It's a dynamic duo.
Yes. Happy
Captain
New
Chris.
Year, guys.
You too. Let us know if you need any help.
Yeah, we're just an email away.
Thank you guys for all your hard work.
So
All right, guys. Good hanging out with you. Take care. Good job.
Ken.
Good